Greetings, Diocese of Olympia, and all who may be watching. Well, I'm coming to you from the comforts of my home studio, which has taken a bit of organization to get together. I apologize for the lack of quality on this, but by comparison, this is going to show you just how valuable and skilled Greg Hester and Josh Hornbeck are, who usually help me with this. This video is a follow-up to the financial recommendations my office sent out Friday, and also just so I can greet you in some other way than just Zoom or in writing. I promise an Easter message soon, which has nothing to do with numbers and finances. But in this video, I want to share with you in a bit more depth some of the realities of diocesan finances. Most of this has been shared before. However, in these very interesting times we live in, you may be paying more attention than usual. I also decided to produce the video along with the letter to model what you might do with your congregation on this very topic in your way and in your local context. I hope you see this as the beginning of a conversation and perhaps an education to diocesan-wide finances. First of all, that word, the diocese. The diocese means all of us, each individual, each congregation, the office of the bishop, all of us. The office of the bishop is what is most often being referred to when we say the diocese. So what I'm highlighting today is the budget for the diocese as overseen by the office of the bishop and the governing bodies of this diocese. As with any budget, we basically are looking at two main areas, income and expenses. Your local budget is no different. For the diocesan budget, income is linked to congregational income, your income locally. It is, as you know, 14.5% of whatever income congregations report. This is, then, not a fixed expense like utility bills or salaries. As congregational income changes, so does what a congregation sends as payment for assessment, and as that changes, so does our diocesan income. This is the good thing about real-time assessments, which, thank goodness, we moved to a few years ago. If a congregational dollar income declines by X percent, our diocesan dollar income will drop by an equal percentage. That's why the diocesan staff have already identified 10% in budget cuts, because it's highly likely our diocesan dollar income will decline. What we don't yet know is by how much. You probably don't have much of an idea about that right now either locally. However, this savings, along with careful planning and good financial management over the past great run of finances, has left us with reserves so that we can offer aid if needed. More details on that in a moment. First, a little bit more about diocesan income, so you can understand it more. About 85% of our diocesan income comes from congregational assessments, what you all send in. 10% comes from investment income, the rest from tuition and fees for events we sponsor from the College for Congregational Development and other workshops. All those income streams are likely to decline this year. Now, every organization with a budget has a red line. The diocese as a whole has a red line, and each of your congregations have a red line too. Your red line, or any organization's red line, is the dollar amount it takes to keep the place alive. If income drops below that red line, the organization can die unless layoffs, furloughs, or dismissals occur. The red line is generally set at salaries and benefits plus other fixed expenses. For the diocese, that monthly red line currently is roughly $180,000, but we've made some commitments we want to keep, mainly that any congregational grant, clergy residency, and other congregational support funds promised to congregations for this year will be honored. This practice is something we've had as a priority for all of these last 13 years, that even though we have continued to bring our expenses down in order to lower the assessment percentage for all our congregations, we haven't cut the money we give back to local congregations. Instead, we have tried to take those cuts from areas that do not affect the local. So, since we do want to keep those promises this year, that raises our diocesan red line to something more like $225,000 per month. Our current budgeted monthly income from congregational assessments is set at $300,000. The 10% across-the-board assessment for 2020, which I proposed on our Zoom call, is really not doable, as that will require a loss of almost $1 million for the year. The other two proposals of relief for 2 full months or 4 months at 50%, or some combination, would cost about $600,000, which we can do, but we are considering the best and fairest way to do it, and quite frankly also win. We feel as we get deeper into this, we can simply see through the real-time giving of 14.5% by congregations what the changes are. I mentioned our staff made 10% in cuts, which results in roughly $321,000. And we have approximately $500,000 in reserve funds that the diocese has painfully accumulated over the past years to help us in moments like the big earthquake or viruses that no one ever expected. So we have a possible rainy day fund of about $800,000 before we will need to cut the budget again. And if we do have to cut it again, it will likely mean staff furloughs and/or other cuts. So relief is possible, and we will offer it. The various assessment proposals are still on the table, but the Joint Finance Panel wanted to get more information from you, the congregations, regarding what you are seeing before making decisions about it. So very shortly, you should see several surveys and questions on this topic, and I hope you will pay special attention to these requests and fill them out as soon as possible and get them back to us. We also have to pay attention in this time to the income side in your local context and learn as much as we can about that. Unfortunately, our continued dis-ease with openly talking about money in the church leaves us with serious problems when we get into crises such as this. Learning that in the midst of this isn't easy, but we have to ask and to speak openly with our people about it. Our reticence in the church to openly discuss money hampers us in times like these, but perhaps we can learn through this and get over some of that. Many of the things we believe about money, especially money in crisis, are myths, not bearing any semblance to the facts. Here are some basic facts, so eloquently stated by the Reverend Canon Suzanne Culhane, Canon for Stewardship in the Diocese of Long Island. I was trying to come up with this list, and there she had it already, and I'm so thankful for her. First, some history. Religious congregations continue to receive the largest share of all charitable giving, 29% in 2018. Americans tend still to give during periods of fear and uncertainty, especially to the church. During the Great Recession of 2008 and 2009, charitable giving remained steady with an overall decline of only 8%. We have seen that this time as well. People have been amazingly generous during this initial phase of the COVID-19 pandemic. During that same 2008 decline, diocesan giving declined just 4%. Even at this unprecedented time, please remember that our theology of giving and stewardship has not changed. Our giving is closely linked with worship and duty, even in the face of the current crisis. Remember also that stewardship and giving are relational, not transactional or technical. Relationship with God and the mission of the church are at the core of stewardship for us. The biggest economic indicator of charitable giving is employment, not the stock market or tax benefits or anything like that. So remember that. Some best practices. How do we make appeals now? With all stewardship efforts, there has to be a foundation of prayer and a direct link to mission. The 5 real pillars of stewardship are still in play: prayer, case for support, leadership, prospective donors, and planning. They're all still at work. The goal for congregational stewardship at this time is to sustain and perhaps even grow giving if possible. Do everything within your power to maximize annual giving and pledge fulfillment. Not asking at this time will only yield more suffering. The church must remain financially healthy in order to respond to the current crisis and later to support recovery. There's a direct link between the continued mission of the church and sustained giving, and our appeals must be characterized by hope, positivity, and gratitude. Know the giving habits of your people. How do they give, and with what frequency do they give? This will enable you to best address the current situation and recognize anomalies. Don't make assumptions. Look at your congregational giving data and trends before acting. Remember that giving is an act of worship. Help people to give at this time. Make the best use of the offertory moment, even if liturgy is now mostly virtual. Make easy on-screen prompts and include the offertory appeal and service leaflets. Instructions should be clear and simple. For example, quote, "Please visit your parish website to make your offering at this time." Help people be able to give offerings. Face-to-face asking is most effective. While that's not possible now, video and telephone are second best. Know that email and social media appeals receive significantly less response. If you must make an electronic appeal, it is ideal to follow up via video call or phone. Make giving a part of your pastoral calls. Use this opportunity to thank and to educate around stewardship. Please remember that the majority of giving in the church is still done with a paper check. Do all that you can to encourage this, while making a physical offering during a public liturgy is not currently possible. Sending out reply envelopes for the parish may help facilitate continued giving in this form. You may want to consider it. Current donors may be slow to adapt to new ways of giving at this time, especially now, so try to help them with how they usually do it. Online giving should also be encouraged. Most of our parishes are already using online giving to some degree, often in conjunction with their database software. Most are using the following recommended vendors: Tithely, Realm, Blackbaud, Vanco, Stripe, and there are many others. And now, on our diocesan website, you can actually link your specific congregation to it, so those who wish can give there. The diocese will get that money to you. We're going to send out detailed information about that early next week. When assessing potential vendors, be sure to focus on clarity and ease of use for your parishioners. When appealing for online giving, please don't ask donors to cover the processing fees. This is shown to be a deterrent to giving. Remember that employment is the biggest indicator of giving. Those who have lost jobs or experience reduced wages are most likely to be unable to continue their regular giving patterns. Pay attention to these folks pastorally and what these changes may mean for reforecasting contributed income. Vestry, clergy, and lay leaders must lead giving by example. Encourage your leaders in this example and then clearly demonstrate this witness to your congregation as a sign of confidence and commitment, i.e., your vestry and clergy have committed to fulfilling our annual pledges in the month of April. We invite you to join us in continuing to offer our gifts of life and labor to the Lord as you are able. You may also identify and make a special appeal to others who are able to advance pledge payments or make special offerings at this time. Be honest about shortfalls, but lead with and focus on mission, not need. Remember that standalone appeals are most successful. These receive the greatest response. Do not include an appeal for giving in a larger communication such as a newsletter. It's only going to get lost and it's going to garner little attention. Now, to some things you can be thinking about, asking, and gathering together right now. Pastorally, and of those giving members in your congregation who is unemployed, furloughed, or otherwise strapped for payments in the congregation, who are those people? How pervasive is this problem? How bad will the economic hit be for your people? What's your red line? What is the minimum amount of money we need to make payroll and keep the lights on? That's what you want to ask locally. What available sources of money can we tap legally and morally? Do we have our 2019 financial documents at hand so that we can apply for available relief programs from the federal government and other places? Will we take advantage of the clergy pension payment suspension program? Will we take advantage of postponement of church insurance payments? What do we say to our renters if we have any? I know some of you are already doing these things, but if you haven't thought of them, think of them. And then, things I would do right now if I were the leader of a congregation. First, be very open and upfront about the finances, just as was modeled here on your congregational level. Be clear, be bold, tell it like it is, and don't be shy about asking people to do several things. First, to communicate with you about how their pledge is going to change, if at all. 2, to continue to give their pledge and even raise it if they're lucky enough to not have lost income. And 3rd, to agree to communicate with you and church leadership if their income status changes in the future. Finally, and most importantly, let's keep being the people God calls us to be. Joyous, hopeful, abundant, generous, living in eternity. Easter's coming. Nothing can stop it. Our God is always with us. Nothing can stop that. I'm so grateful for all of you, so blessed by all of you, so honored to be in this ministry with you at this time. Blessings to all of you.